A special thanks goes out to Leon, who submitted an article from a website called Madame Noir entitled, "More Women Need to Date Like Rihanna," and it was written by Sonia Eskridge. Based on a few titles from this website, it appears to be a goldmine for channels like mine. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started here. It starts, quote, "Rihanna may have one of the hottest love lives around as everyone tries to figure out who she's with now and how long it will last. Despite her rough past, Rihanna has been giving single girls everywhere some love lessons as a living example. When considering her dating patterns, we picked up on a few gems on how to date like her." So right out of the gate, Sonia Eskridge is glorifying promiscuity by characterizing Rihanna's love life as one of the hottest around. Translation: Rihanna's been with a lot of guys and has had a turbulent, volatile love life. Gentlemen, this is nothing to be proud of. Miss Eskridge, like most female authors who write about dating, is leading girls astray when they characterize bed hopping as, quote, hot. You see, young girls read this kind of stuff and think, yeah, I've been with a lot of guys. I've had a turbulent, volatile love life just like Rihanna. And if she's okay, then I'm okay. If it's okay for her to do it, then surely it must be okay for me to do it too. Then she makes trying to figure out who she's with and how long it will last a badge of honor. No, this isn't a badge of honor. Not knowing who she's with this week isn't anything to be proud of. People wondering how long a relationship will last is something a woman should not be dignified to think or say about herself. When a girl gets with a guy and her friends wonder, how long is this one gonna last? They're not really asking the question. They don't really care how long it's gonna last because, number one, girls don't really care about each other, and number two, they're making a statement by asking a question. You see, guys, when people around a female ask this, quote, question, what they're saying is that she gets around. They're saying that she has men in and out of her life all the time and that her bedroom has a revolving door. And if women are honest with you, they'll tell you that if they find out that someone asked, well, how long is this guy gonna last? They would feel anything but honored. Asking this question about any given guy a girl is with quite literally says that she's a banana gobbler, period. End of discussion, and that is exactly what Rihanna is. Now, the statement, quote, Rihanna has been giving single girls everywhere some love lessons as a living example is extremely dangerous for a lot of obvious reasons. But the main reason is something I say every time black women want to compare themselves and the plight of everyday sisters to celebrities. You ain't Rihanna. You're not Beyonce, you're not Halle Berry, you're not Kerry Washington, you're not Michelle Obama, and you're not a celebrity, boo. Now, some might ask, well, Donovan, they're obviously not celebrities, so other than the obvious, why is being a living example for regular girls dangerous? I'll tell you why. You see, Rihanna's been around, like most girls. They do have that in common. Rihanna has also had some heartbreak, also something average non-celebrity girls have been through. And of course, Rihanna's been alpha widowed, 3 for 3. But here's the main difference between Rihanna and Shaniqua. Rihanna's dated high-value men, Leonardo DiCaprio, J.R. Smith, Ashton Kutcher, Travis Scott, Shia LaBeouf, the list goes on. And while sleeping around is detrimental to a woman's physical, mental, and psychological health, regardless of a man's value, that damage is far worse when giving it up to low-value men. Yes, Rihanna has lost the ability to pair bond, and no, she will never have a good relationship. This is bad for her, but it is much worse for average girls. Don't get me wrong. Sleeping around is bad for women no matter what, but at least Rihanna didn't have to deal with her dude taking her car to see his baby mama or his side piece while she's at work. She didn't have to deal with men who had more than one apostrophe on their names, which tells you all you need to know about their mothers. She didn't have to worry about dudes being at her house smoking weed and playing video games all day with his homeboys. She didn't have to worry about messing with low-quality guys who always hit her up for money. All the guys Rihanna's messed with have money. They have their lives together. And while sleeping with all of these high-status men certainly wasn't good for her, the extent of the damage is not quite as bad as dealing with low-value guys. DiCaprio didn't leave her broke. Travis Scott didn't get a credit card in her name. J.R. Smith didn't crash her car and then disappear. So while all these girls think Rihanna's the pinnacle of dating success for women, she ain't. And following her example will leave these girls broke because Ryan Philippe ain't checking for these broads. Which leads me to the biggest reason why Rihanna will lead black women astray, which is what, class? Black women can't date white dudes like that. Sisters, you guys can get all excited about the fact that she's dated guys like Leonardo DiCaprio, Shia LaBeouf, Ryan Philippe, and Ashton Kutcher. You guys can get all excited about the fact that Meghan Markle married Prince Harry. But like I've said in the past at least 6,000 times, the average white dude ain't checking for sisters, and that's all there is to it. Just because Rihanna can do it doesn't mean you can. Just because Stacey Dash can do it doesn't mean you can. And just because you know a black woman who dates white guys on the regular doesn't mean you can too. You see, the difference between you and the girl you know is that she's hot, she's feminine, she's submissive, and she knows her place. The average black female is none of these things. So expecting to have blonde-haired, blue-eyed dudes lined up to get with you because you see celebrities doing it is going to continue to disappoint you. For heaven's sake, sisters, stop believing you can do things you really can't do. White dudes don't want you. Deal with it. Okay, let's go to number 1. It starts, quote, Rihanna has a rotation. It says a girl's got to have her options, and Rihanna is no different. Before her current relationship with Saudi billionaire Hassan Jameel, Rihanna had a rotation of men. This meant that she had plenty of options, another female who needs an editor, for male companionship when she decided that she wanted to enjoy it. Similarly, single girls should also have several men in rotation. Dating is a numbers game after all. Entertaining several suitors at a time until you decide to be exclusive with one is just stacking the deck in your favor and being efficient about it. Sweet mother of God, no wonder today's women are dumpster fires. I will discuss why having a rotation of men destroys women, but first, let me remind you to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who pees standing up. What Miss Eskridge just said here is the quintessential example of women thinking that dating like men is what they should be doing, but then they wonder why things never work out. Of course it didn't work out. You're a woman. And when you date like a man, as a woman, you end up alone because you're supposed to date like a woman. Men should have a rotation. Men should be entertaining several suitors at a time until we decide to be exclusive with one if we decide to. This strategy works for men because why, class? We're men.
But Donovan, women can do this too. If a girl wants to have a rotation, she can have one.
100% correct. Women can have rotations. Nobody is stopping them, and it's not against the law.
So why does it supposedly work for men and not women?
And yes, I said supposedly on purpose because there are way too many women out here who say supposedly instead of supposedly. So I may as well depict the typical female as accurately as possible. Anyway, the answer to this question is obvious. Physical intimacy affects men and women differently. This is why men who sleep around don't suffer physical, mental, and psychological damage, and women do. Men are physically and biologically designed to sleep with a lot of women. Women are not designed to do the same with men. Sperm is cheap. Eggs are expensive, which means that sperm isn't as valuable as eggs, which is exactly why the creator, whoever he is, designed men and women differently. Women are treating their eggs like sperm. They're treating their eggs like they're cheap by sleeping around and getting noit roba spelled backwards. Women simply are not designed to sleep around. They are designed to procreate with one man. Men are designed to procreate with many women. This is the reason women suffer when they sleep around and men do not. This is Mother Nature. This is biology. A stud horse is used to impregnate many female horses. A female horse doesn't take sperm from 12 horses. She takes it from one. A lion propagates a herd. A lioness doesn't have the cubs of 5 different lions. Our ability to reason as humans is what separates us from every species on Earth. But it's also why women think that they can act like men between the sheets. Women can't, quote, stack the deck in her favor by sleeping around. They can stack the deck by learning domestic skills, protecting their chastity, and being kind. These girls have more guys lined up for them than girls who have a rotation, because by the time girls with rotations are ready to settle down, the guys in their rotations aren't around. You know where they are? They're after the 19-year-old virgin who lives with her parents, who knows how to cook, clean, and loves to do it, and wants a family instead of a career. So go ahead and follow Rihanna and see what happens, ladies. Oh, wait a minute, you already have. You just chose to ignore it. Number 2, Rihanna has standards. It says Rihanna has been linked with a number of men since her nasty breakup with Breezy. One thing I notice is that the majority of them are all on her level. Rihanna is not just going to step out with some random. She's going to spend her time with men who have something going for themselves and the self-confidence to show it. There's nothing wrong with having standards as long as they are reasonable. Single women should know what they want and not feel bad about expecting possible baes to meet their expectation. When you let go of your standards, you'll accept just anyone. And that often does not work out well for women because it allows men to put in minimal effort. Now this is where Miss Eskridge has a point. Kind of. And I'll tell you why. A staple in 5% awareness is understanding that women will not date men who have equal or lesser value than they do. Women want to date up. They want to marry up. They want to F up. Rihanna is a woman, and because all women are like that, meaning that all women operate under the same imperatives when seeking mates, we're not surprised that she's dating men on, quote, her level in terms of value. Now, to be clear, Rihanna does not have the same value as any of the men she's dated. They've all had higher value than her because they're men. Male celebrities who sleep around have far more value than female celebrities who sleep around by virtue of biology. Women value men who have a lot of bedroom experience with women. Men do not value women who have a lot of bedroom experience with men. Yes, women who sleep around get attention from high-value men, but they never take these women seriously, which is why Rihanna has such a long string of exes, which again is nothing to be proud of. Anyway, Sonia hits the mark again when she says that there's nothing wrong with having standards. I agree. Women must have standards when dating, but here's where she misses the mark. Number one, women have grossly unreasonable standards, and number two, women these days don't get to have standards. If you've slept with men into the double digits, then you forfeit your right to have standards, sweetheart. Women can say all they want that they're not going to settle, but unfortunately for most of them, it's too late. The 19-year-old virgin who lives with her parents, she can have standards. The 20-year-old who doesn't sleep around because she's waiting for a husband gets to have standards. The 31-year-old who has 3 kids by 3 men doesn't get to have standards. The 34-year-old who's had 6 Noit Robas spelled backwards and has a 6-figure debt doesn't get to have standards. Rihanna can have standards because she's still young and beautiful and doesn't have a bunch of kids or debt. But she ain't 22 anymore. She's 32. And while she can still attract high-value men at her age, she won't be able to for much longer. In a few short years, she'll be acting like Charlize Theron, who's always complaining about men not wanting to date her and being asked to play Wonder Woman's mother. Rihanna's net worth of over $500 million affords her the ability to be free of the baggage that weighs down most women her age on the dating market. She can have Noit Robas, she obviously doesn't have debt, and she can afford anti-aging procedures like HGH, plastic surgery, Botox, and so forth. But guess what? The average woman doesn't have these kinds of resources, which is why the average 32-year-old American woman can't have the same standards as Rihanna. And this, of course, is the reason black women need to quit comparing themselves to celebrities. Their lives are very different from yours, and your outcomes will be very different from theirs. Rihanna can sleep around and still have high-value men after her at 32 years old, at least for now. But ladies, I'll say it again. You ain't Rihanna. The only way you can have standards is to refrain from getting passed around, which unfortunately, most of you can't or won't do. Number 3, Rihanna sets boundaries. After years of flirtation, she starts, and a semi-situationship, Drake found himself out in the cold. Why? Because he decided that presenting Rihanna with an award was the perfect time to confess his love for her in front of millions of people. Some girls might think that's really sweet, but Rihanna definitely did not. She and Drake haven't really been cool since the incident in 2016, but he only found out this year. When he crossed the line for her, Rihanna removed him from her rotation. What single women can learn from this is how to figure out your boundaries and enforce them by being decisive about the men you allow to access your time. If possible bae can't respect your boundaries, you know that it is okay to swiftly shuffle him out of your life. Gentlemen, boundaries, like standards, can only be applied if you have options. No, ladies, having 20 guys in your phone who will come over and feed you a cucumber salad in 3 texts or less isn't having options. Having options is having your choice in high-value men. Rihanna has them, you do not. This is why girls always pine for the one that got away. They dump a guy not knowing that he was the highest value guy they'll ever have an opportunity to lock down. Sleep around for a decade plus, then expect the higher value men to commit to them. When this doesn't happen, they regret leaving the guy who was still in medical school, or the guy who was still in law school, or the guy who was in the beginning stages of starting his own business, and wonder what might have been had she stuck around. Anyway, Rihanna can swiftly shuffle men out of her life because she has others lined up, but only because she can still attract high-value men at the age of 32. But the average woman can't attract high-value men at 32, at least not the same caliber of men who threw themselves at her when she was 22. But let's get one thing straight here. Rihanna's not, quote, setting boundaries. When she shuffles men out of her life, she's just getting rid of dudes because she gets bored. She can do this, again, because she's Rihanna. Call Drake whatever you want, simp, beta, white knight, whatever. Drake's a high-value guy. Just because you're high-value doesn't mean you have game. Drake clearly does not, yet he still has women throwing themselves at him. Well, Rihanna's been with enough dudes who have a lot more game than Drake, and eventually his act wore thin on her and she rejected him when he tried his little public revelation of being in love with her. That was a punk move, just like men who propose to women publicly. It's cowardly for many reasons, and women know this. Again, Rihanna can do what she does because she's Rihanna, and Rihanna has access to a stable of high-value men. Today's women think they can afford to be picky like Rihanna, but again, they can't. And when they finally realize this, it will be too late. So go on, ladies, just swat away all those guys like you've got all the time in the world. Father Time is undefeated. He will come for Rihanna eventually. He came for Halle Berry, he came for Janet Jackson, and he came for Charlize Theron. It took him a little longer, but eventually he got him. But Father Time comes for the average female much sooner. Number 4. Rihanna is not pressed. It continues. Someone once asked Rihanna what she's looking for in a man. Instead of giving the reporter a list of qualities any man needs to have in order to think about stepping to her as expected, Rihanna told him that she's not looking for a man. Taking a relaxed approach in the search for love is crucial because desperation is not attractive. Potential partners, she says, can smell it from a mile away. Besides, if there is any cliche that holds true with annoying consistency, is that you usually find love when you stop looking for it. When the right one does come along, he'll have to be pretty amazing to catch your attention, which is the kind of man you want. Guys, this is the kind of advice that gets women in trouble, including Rihanna. A girl who isn't quote-unquote pressed is a girl who isn't in a hurry to find and lock down a man. And this is why we've got a bunch of 30 and 40-somethings racing to freeze their eggs and asking where all the good men have gone. A woman's true value is measured by the value of the man she can attract, lock down, and have a family with. If a woman has a bunch of babies with a bunch of low-quality dudes, then it is correctly assumed that she is, of course, a low-value woman. A woman that gets married and has kids with a high-value man is either high-value herself, meaning she's feminine, attractive, meaning not overweight, and values traditional masculinity and gender roles, or she's a world-class actress who fooled a man into thinking she's all of these things. Either way, she's held in higher regard by herself and others. But here's a problem with, quote, not being pressed. A woman's dating market value decreases every day, and it decreases rapidly. One day they're young and beautiful, and the next they've got crow's feet and a saggy body. It happens just that quickly, which is why we call it the wall. Women hit the wall. Men, we slowly roll down a 3-degree ramp. Anyway, taking a relaxed approach to dating doesn't work for women because they simply do not have the time to be relaxed about finding a man. However, I will admit that the advice Miss Eskridge is giving is 100% correct. For a man, men have time to be relaxed and not pressed. Men aren't in a rush because we don't have to be. Desperation is not attractive for men, and women can smell it a mile away, just like Rihanna smelled it on Drake. Here's another fallacy. Women of high quality are never desperate. They know they have their choice in suitors because they've refrained in engaging in behaviors that corrode their bodies, their minds, and their souls, like sleeping around, drinking in excess all the time, and doing drugs. Rihanna is not a woman of high quality. She's an attractive woman with a high notch count with a lot of money. Her money means she's less of a financial strain on high-value men because, of course, she also doesn't have children or debt. Having a sense of urgency as a woman is not desperate. A woman in her prime who knows time is running out and makes it a priority to lock down a high-value man isn't desperate. She's smart. Sonia is doing what all women do, which is disingenuously exaggerating his state of mind to the point to where it's extreme. They call a sense of urgency, quote, desperation. They call a woman who stays at home with her man on a Friday night a, quote, girl who's under house arrest. The list goes on. Ladies, if you're not relaxed about dating, you're not desperate. If you have a sense of urgency about finding a man, you're not desperate. You're a woman who has her priorities in line. Do not let these women shame you into doing what they wish they could have done, which is to find a man while they're still in their physical prime. Ladies, Rihanna is, quote, not pressed, but she should be. And if she should be pressed, then so should you. Get thousands of hours of content not found anywhere on patreon.com/Donovan Sharp. Link in description.